pleased with the outcome today. We thank the jury for their time and their attention. We know it was a long trial and there was a lot of things that had to be covered, but we believe that justice was served. And when we took on this case, what we said we wanted to do was to make sure that we got justice for the Baders, and that happened today. Thanks to the jury's hard work and very careful attention to all of the details and all of the evidence and things in the case, and we're just very grateful for the outcome.
Is it pretty safe to assume that that Monsanto will appeal, and what's expected now?
I don't know that. I can't answer that question. I know we're very happy with the result, and really at this moment, that's all we're focused on.
Surprised that the jury exceeded the amount requested by so much?
I can't say that I was surprised given the egregious conduct that the jury was called on to evaluate, but we were very happy that they did, and I think that what they wanted to do was to send a very strong message. And as my husband Bill said during his argument this morning, they needed a very strong message in order to deter them and any other of these corporations who do these sorts of things. And I think that message was received today.
I wanted to ask a clarifying question about those punitive damages. This was just to Monsanto, not to the BASF, correct?
Well, the assessment is as to Monsanto, but there is a ruling in the case of the joint venture and conspiracy, and so that's joint and several liability. So, as I understand it, both companies, the conduct that was assessed was Monsanto's conduct. But the assessment will operate against both, as I understand it.
So both companies will be paying some amount of
For
that.
the compensatory?
If under the circumstances, like I said, as it's written, that's my understanding of it. I think Ms. George, our other counsel, has more of a handle on that, but that's how I understand it to be, because it's joint and several liability.
Right. Where do those punitive damages go? Will any of them go to Bader Farms, or was that just yesterday's judgment?
Oh no, the punitive damages award is to the plaintiff. So the Baders will be compensated with both the compensatory and the punitive damages award.
I think a lot of us are looking at this case and looking at a lot of other cases involving farmers in Dicamba. What kind of precedent do you think that this sets for those trials?
Well, I believe the next Dicamba trial is set for either summer or fall of this year. I believe that this certainly is going to have a major impact on, and this case was the first of the Dicamba cases, so the fact that it's not soybean doesn't matter. The same evidence, the same witnesses, there may be some additional witnesses that some of the other trials that want to use, but the depositions, the documents, all of that operates as between the future cases and this case.
I was curious too, is it clear how that $15 million in compensation is going to be broken down between the two companies as well? Or?
Well, as between the two, and again, I believe that it would just be, and I haven't seen the verdict form,
okay.
But I believe that would also just be 50-50.
Okay.
And I could probably get you some quick clarification on that, but
okay.
I didn't look at the verdict form for the final, but I believe that also is 50-50.
And sorry, would the punitive then also be 50-50 or?
Well, if it's
not?
joint and several liability, because
okay.
because it's joint venture, the jury found joint venture.
Mm-hmm.
So joint and several liability means it's an even split.
I wondered if you could speak to what this will mean financially for the Baders. I mean, certainly they've incurred a lot of damage.
Well, the Baders have been very successful prior to this, and but this is obviously on at least the punitive damages number is on a completely different scale. It would be life-changing for most any of us, and it certainly will be for them. If there is an appeal process, obviously then all of this gets dragged out a bit more, but it makes a tremendous difference. And I think more than anything, though, with the punitive damages, it sends a strong message. The Baders were doing this not just because of themselves and for themselves, but they felt like it was necessary because of what it means to farmers everywhere. Mm-hmm. This was just wrong, and it was wrong not just that harm that they suffered, but a harm that people all over, not just the boot heel, but all over the country, farmers were experiencing the exact same thing. And what I will always commend Bill Bader for is that no matter what anyone said, no matter how many times people told him to just pipe down and be quiet, and you can't take on a giant like Monsanto and a giant like BASF, he said he could do it, and he was willing to. And you got to commend a guy for that.
Any indication of what it means for, well, their peach operation going forward? Are they going to try to stick it out, or?
I don't know. As Mr. Bader said in his direct examination testimony, he doesn't know what the future for the peach operation will be. It is going to be very difficult for them to continue to exist in a dicamba world. I think that's what he said in his direct examination testimony, and that's the truth. I think he's just finally made his peace with there may not be any more Bader Farms peach operation. That seems unlikely, but so they'll have to make adjustments. I mean, this has been his whole life's work and his family's life work for decades, but I haven't talked to them about what the future will look like in terms of farming, but they're peach farmers, and so all of this has been very stressful to realize that this is the end.
Based on the assumption that there will be an appeal process, where is that appeal held? And we're talking years, aren't we?
The Eighth Circuit is the district that, or the circuit that it will be in. That's the appellate circuit, and you never know with an appellate process. It could be a year and a half. It could be longer. It's really just speculation, and no one really knows. With these things, this has been, I don't know, dozens of depositions and thousands, or not really, millions of pages of documents and thousands of lawyer hours gone into it, and from all sides. So we'll just see if they appeal, and if and when they do, we'll just go from there.
Okay.
Do you have other clients in the class action too? Do you represent?
We do. We have a number of other clients in our firms. Our firm, Randles and Split Gerber and Davis George Moog, counsel for plaintiffs here. We all have a lot of firms, or a lot of clients in the MDL.
Several firms with many clients in the class action. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Now, our firm is a co-counsel with Davis George and Moog, and so all of the clients that we have, they have, and vice versa.
How many total in the class action?
That I couldn't answer. I just don't.
Timetable on that?
Well, there is a trial sort of tentatively set, as I understand, but for late summer or early fall. But I don't think that date's going to hold. I seriously doubt that date would hold. But I don't know if Judge Limbaugh would move it back a month or 2 months. I just don't know.
Well, now that there's been a significant verdict here and punitive damages, that could have a significant impact, couldn't it, on the class action as far as settlement or something?
It could. I don't know that to be the case, but it could. I know things like that happen all the time, but we'll see. Our firm, as you might expect, has for many months been just very focused on the Bader trial, and there was so much to be done pre-trial and so many motions filed, and we had to respond to seemingly a dozen motions every time we turned around. There was just something else. So we've just been really locked and loaded on Bader and focused on Bader, and so then, but we'll see what the future holds with the MDL and class action.
So your husband said that you first ran into the Baders when you were running for lieutenant governor.
Yes, that's how I met Bill Bader. My team back in 2016, that summer, they wanted to shoot my last TV ad someplace that was quintessential Southeast Missouri, like the Boot Heel. Yeah. And so they asked me, since I'm from the Boot Heel.
You are?
I am. I'm from Sykeston. That's where I was born and raised. And so they asked me, well, what's quintessential Southeast Missouri? Like something that everybody would know. And I said, Bader Farms peaches. And so we got the number for Mr. Bader, and one of my team members called, and we were out. He said, yes, you can come shoot your ad here. And so we were out there that day, and while we were waiting between takes, I actually grew up working in an apple orchard, and so I knew a lot about orchards, and I grew up on a farm, so I knew that there was something that looked a little different about the peach trees, and so he just started talking about it and telling me about the situation with Dicamba and how it started in 15, and I said to him at the time, assuming I was going to win my race for lieutenant governor, so but I said to him at that time, I think you have suffered a real wrong, and something should be done about this. So I said, I want to help you, whether it's politically or legally. I don't know what I can do, but I do think that you deserve redress for what's happened here. And then little did I know, a month and a half later, I lose the election. But a few days after that, Bryce, I think your article in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch came out, and a friend of mine sent me that article and said, you should follow up with him just to make sure he's doing okay. And then really that's what happened. I called him, and I knew, and I wasn't trying to get his business, but I wanted to, he had done a tremendous favor for me, and so I just wanted to make sure that someone was looking out for his interests. I wasn't trying to sign him up or anything like that, but that's what happened, and here we are, 3.5 years later, with a very significant victory under our belt.
Well,